Welcome to the Foundry by Forge College. I'm your host, and in today's explainer, we're tackling the exact moment that separates the amateurs from the true Web3 architects. Imagine an intricate, high-tech assembly line. You've got these beautifully engineered, heavily audited smart contract components. Individually, they're flawless, but the moment you bolt them together on the integration scaffold and flip the power switch, the gears jam, sparks fly, and the whole machine grinds to an absolute halt. Today, we're diving into integrating components and debugging interactions for your capstone project in building a composable contract system. We're going to figure out exactly why those perfectly reviewed parts suddenly fail when they talk to each other, and more importantly, how to fix them. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll look at the integration problem, hunt down a silent bug, trace its root cause, surgically fix the machine, and finally wrap things up with a debug report. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. The integration problem.
So let's do a quick reality check here. You can have literally 100% test coverage on your individual contracts, but passing unit tests absolutely does not mean your entire system is ready for the blockchain. To put this in perspective, think back to our previous explainer, manual code review and vulnerability triage. We were using our magnifying glasses to polish isolated individual parts to absolute perfection, right? Looking for reentrancy, integer overflows, all the classic single contract vulnerabilities. But today is all about the friction created when we put those perfect parts together on the integration scaffold. We are shifting our focus from the components themselves to the empty space between those components. And that brings us to a really foundational concept, the interaction contract. The definition is remarkably simple. It's basically just a promise, or an expectation, between two pieces of code. Think of it like the plumbing connections in a house. If one pipe pushes water at a super high pressure, but the valve on the connecting pipe is expecting a slow drip, or is just completely shut, well, the whole system bursts. In a composable smart contract system, if one gear spins but the next one doesn't catch, your entire machine fails. Section 2. Hunting the silent bud. Okay, let's set up our crime scene. We have a composed system running on a local Hardhat test node, an orchestrator, a payment adapter, and a policy module. Everything looks great on paper, but during our full system integration test, money is getting lost in the ether. Why? Well, meet our primary suspect, the unchecked return. This happens when a failed subcall is completely ignored by the caller. I want you to anthropomorphize our payment adapter for a second. Imagine the payment adapter is that notoriously lazy coworker. The orchestrator tells the adapter, hey, go pay this vendor. The adapter goes to the vendor, their credit card gets declined, and then the adapter walks right back to the orchestrator and says, yep, all paid up, boss, without ever actually checking the receipt. Which leads us to a massive mystery. Why did the overarching transaction succeed if the underlying payment actually failed? Well, in the Web3 world, not all failures are loud. Some ERC2 tokens don't actually revert, meaning they don't throw a massive error and stop the whole transaction when a transfer fails. Instead, they just quietly return the Boolean value false. If our payment adapter ignores that false return value, it lets the orchestrator proceed with its state changes based on entirely bad data. It's literally a silent killer in decentralized finance. Section 3. Tracing the root cause. We know there's a bug, but we obviously can't just guess. We need to grab our magnifying glasses, dig into the low-level data using the Hardhat console and Ethers.js scripts, and follow a strict 4-step developer workflow. Step 1. Reproduce the failing test deterministically. If you can't reliably break it, you cannot reliably fix it. Step 2. Run a tracing script to pull the low-level receipts. Step 3. Analyze those logs to see exactly where the state diverged. And finally, Step 4. Apply the fix. Honestly, whatever you do, do not jump to Step 4 without doing the first 3. This essentially forms our diagnostic checklist. If your observed symptom is that a subcall returns false, but the outer transaction succeeds, the likely cause is an unchecked return. You need to inspect the caller's logic. That's our lazy coworker scenario perfectly described. But what if the subcall throws a custom error and reverts? That's a mismatch in assumptions, meaning you need to inspect the callee's preconditions. And if you see gas exhaustion, you probably aren't forwarding enough gas for the subcall to complete its work. For our current crime scene, symptom number 1 leads us straight back to the caller's logic in the payment adapter. Section 4. Fixing the machine. We've diagnosed the problem, we've found the culprit, and now it's time to shift gears and apply a minimal surgical fix that gets this assembly line moving again safely. And the fix is remarkably elegant. Instead of just firing off the transfer and walking away, we capture the Boolean return value, let's call it OK, and we wrap it in a require statement. Just require OK, transfer failed. By doing this, we are strictly enforcing the interaction contract. If the token returns false, the require statement triggers a revert. It forces the entire transaction to fail loudly and safely, rolling back any state changes and preventing the orchestrator from assuming the payment went through. The lazy coworker is now being micromanaged and the system is safe. But a fix isn't truly finished just because you wrote a single line of code. In all our learning paths and programs at Forge College, we constantly emphasize that you have to prove your fix works. First, you apply the patch. Second, you rerun your full suite of integration tests to make sure your fix didn't accidentally break something else in the composable system. And third, and this is definitely the most important part, you add a regression test. You write a specific test that simulates a token failing to transfer, and you assert that your new require statement catches it. This codifies the expected behavior forever. Section 5. The debug report. So you've caught the bug, applied the fix, and written the tests. But a detective's job isn't done until the paperwork is filed. In a professional environment, your markdown debug report becomes the literal blueprint for deployment. It needs to include a few key sections: a summary of the issue, the exact steps and transaction hashes used to reproduce it, your root cause analysis, a description of the minimal patch you applied, the results of the tests you ran before and after, and, crucially, any remaining risks. This document is the ultimate handoff to the operations and deployment teams. It proves you didn't just guess, you actually engineered a solution. I want you to burn this quote into your brain. Enforce interaction contracts, keep fixes minimal, and document everything. This is the core ethos for Web3 developers building complex, composable architectures. It's not just about making the code work on the happy path, it's about rigorously defining what happens when things go wrong and maintaining absolute discipline whenever you're modifying a live ecosystem. Let's summarize our journey today. We took a failing system scaffold, hunted down a silent, unchecked return bug, applied a surgical fix, and created a validated integration baseline. We are now one massive step closer to actual production readiness. And this sets us up perfectly for our next explainer, where we will convert this exact debug report into actual operational runbooks in our Documenting Deployment and Operational Practices module. Building composable systems is definitely challenging, but as you've seen today, with a structured approach to tracing and debugging, you can bring absolute stability to the most complex architectures. Before you move on to the next module, I highly encourage you to visit forge.college to dive deeper into this track, explore our other Web3-related topics, and truly master smart contract architecture. Here is a final thought to leave you with. If your smart contracts can't safely handle a completely unexpected failure from a trusted component today, what exactly is going to happen to your users' funds tomorrow? Keep building, keep verifying, and I'll see you in the next one.